Hey guys, happy Tuesday. I am on late today and I just had something happen that makes me want to just talk to you guys about it. Hey, welcome. This is the Savvy Business Chick, making sure you know your purpose and destiny in the marketplace. Today I have, hey big sis, how are you? Today this is a special talk Tuesday tip for my leaders, for my employers, for my managers. You guys know that I try to share very useful information. Yeah, bring it on. Information to you as these things come to me. So my staff love it. They're helping me with this post today. But first, let me tell you guys that I just shared on LinkedIn. Let me go to my profile. What basically would be like the I don't want to say the theme of this particular Periscope. And I said, I'm resisting the urge to micromanage. And I know you guys are like, micromanage? If you're not in the USA or if you're not familiar with micromanage, micromanager or micromanage, thank you. To micromanage or to be a micromanager is not considered a very favorable title for a manager. But let me just tell you that some of you employees, you really you bring it out of us. And here's a situation. So one of my employees, and actually she's a temporary employee, she's still relatively new, great lady, she's doing her work. And one of her co-workers, one of my other employees, encouraged her to help her out with her project. So I go to her, and first of all, she didn't read. So I put on my LinkedIn profile, leaders, managers, employers, when you give instructions, make sure they're very clear, and I want you to get like an acknowledgement from them. What does that mean? After you give them the instructions, what I was doing was going back to her to say, hey, did you have any questions about the assignment I gave you? So you have to do that, and some people would consider it to be micromanaging. Like, no, let them go off and just do it. I don't care how clear you wrote it down, go back and make sure that they don't have any questions. This is a part of training your employees. Number one, to know that they can ask you questions. Number two, that if there is a start date and a due date of when this assignment needs to be due, you had all your chances to make sure that you gave me your best work at the end of this project. Now, I just so happen to be reading this morning in the book of Daniel. And for all of my Christian business women, Christian business entrepreneurs, business owner, so really what really was impressed me today was talking about the spirit of excellence, and that Daniel had a spirit of excellence. So I said, okay, I want that, and not only do I want that for myself, I want that for my team. I want that for everybody around me. So that was a part of my devotions this morning. And sure enough, God was showing me, okay, you have some areas that you have to go back and train or retrain your team so that they can represent that spirit of excellence. So here, like I said, the rest of my story is that when I went to that employee and asked her, so do you have any questions about this assignment? First thing she didn't do was read. She thought today is September the 5th. And because she read quickly, she thought that she had to have this whole thing finished within 2 days. And it clearly said you can start September the 7th. And it didn't have to be finished to the end of the month. So she said, oh. So I'm looking at her like, if you don't read. So then I go over the instructions with her and I show her how I want it done. and I wanted to make sure that the person that trained her before gave her the proper training. This is what I'm talking about, employers. Make sure you give clear instructions. And you know, there's some people that you have asked someone else to train, and you think, well, that person does really good work, but their level of understanding may not be one that can train someone else to do the assignment, to do the project, to do the work in the way that is of excellence, that is of high quality, and that will represent you, your brand, your business. So you want to just do a whole double check, okay, and ask questions. Simply ask questions. Okay, and one of the questions I asked her was, do you know how to report on this? Yeah, this is what I do. Okay, what form do you use? And I know it seems kind of like, why would I have to go through all that with that employee? Because you're not downgrading them. You're not putting them down, but you really want to ask them those questions to get them to think, to get them to communicate with you what they are doing, what they do understand versus what they don't understand. So I try to have very clear instructions, and then I want that person to feed it back to me. Feed it back to me what you got, and then I can feel comfortable with going off to do whatever I need to do, or talking to other employees, managers, supervisors. So one of the things, like I said on LinkedIn today, is if you have ever been called a micromanager, or you feel like you have micromanaging traits, it's probably because you don't trust your employees. Thanks for the hearts, by the way. It's probably because you don't trust your employees, or if you are a supervisor, a mid-level manager, somewhere along the way you have lost trust. And I want to say that part of that is your fault, because you need to be doing some of the things that I'm suggesting right now. You need to give clear instructions. You need to make sure that your staff is well trained, that they really know that they can come to you and ask for questions for clarity. And I had a rumor that went around our office, and right now we have 10 people in the office, right? But we have about 128 nurses out in the field, or 128 nurses in our roster. So I'm not going to be checking with everybody, but the people that's in our office, they didn't want to ask me a question if they thought it was a dumb question. Now, I understand that they wouldn't want to come to me and just be stuck like a deer in the headlights, but I would rather they ask me a dumb question and me have the opportunity to correct it than to have them go and make a mistake and then they give me a poor work, or even worse, translate something to a client, a nurse that is just incorrect, or one of our field staff is incorrect. I heard someone say a long time ago at a conference I went to, this probably was even like 10 years ago, where the boss, the leader said, it's not the 90% of the information that you know that I'm afraid of. It's the 10% of the stuff that you don't know that terrifies me. Because a person that feels like, oh, I'm good, I know this, I know 90% of everything that goes on in this company, it's that 10% that an employee would not ask you about. They would go off and make a decision without checking with whoever you put in authority, or without checking with you. That could cost you a lot in business. That can cost you a client. That can cost you a bad representation in your company. And you lose that training moment. You lose that moment where where you actually lose trust, where you're like, why didn't they just ask? That's like one of the main questions I ask in an interview. I asked a person, I said, let's say you had a supervisor, and I don't let them know that I am the big boss. Let's say you have a supervisor and they give you all these priorities and they're due around the same time. I asked them how would they handle several priorities, and most of the time that person will, thank you, most of the time that person will say, well, I will just do the most important one. And you know why that answer is wrong? Is because you don't know what is most important to your boss, to your supervisor, unless you ask them. And there's so many people that are not asking questions. They're just saying, I think this one is more important. Well, all they had to do was say, hey, both of these are due on the same day. I know both of them are really important, but I want to give one higher priority. Which one should I start working on first? Allow your boss, your supervisor, to give you that information so that relieves stress from you. You know how to prioritize, and guess what? It's not a stupid question. It's not a stupid question. So if anything, I want to inspire leaders to take some time, whether in the morning or in the afternoon, to go talk to your staff and ask them how they're doing on projects. This is towards the end of the year. There's a lot of things that need to be accomplished, and you want to see how your staff is doing, how your workers are doing with those projects. It's easy to say, well, they're just walking around chit-chatting, they're not doing anything. They could be taking a break. Allow them the time to get a little break in. Just because you work hard, or work through lunch, allow them that time to take a break. But as a leader, just if you've ever heard of the serenity prayer, it says, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. So you may not be able to change the fact that you have an employee that's been with you for a long time or a short time that is making you a little bit nervous that he or she may not complete that assignment on time, or they may not do a good job. But guess what you're going to have to do? You are going to have to let them go through that process and then make your evaluation at the end. That's going to be really challenging for you. Thank you for the hearts. Let them go through that process. I don't have children yet, but most of my friends who are moms, there's a point where you have to let the kid just, okay, I told you what to do. I told you the instructions. Go off and do it. And let them know that there is an open door where they can ask you questions. If they fail, after that, address it then. And don't be ready to jump on them like a lion or a lioness. Just say, you know what? Here are the areas that I really saw that you excelled, and here are the areas that I saw that, you could have did a lot better had you not done X, Y, Z. Offer them constructive criticism. And you can choose right then and there. Is this someone you want to develop? Or is it someone that you're like, you know what, I need to be looking for someone else? Those are the kind of decisions that hiring managers, employers, bosses, #girlboss or I am the boss need to make. So accept the things that you cannot change. Instead of trying to be a micromanager and just hover over them like a mother eagle or whatever, give them clear instructions, train or retrain, and inspire them. Kind of give them some words of affirmation that, one of the reasons why I chose you to do this project is because I really believe that you have the potential for leadership, or I really saw that you did good on another project. Inspire them. And then if you have to, I hate to say it, fire them. You want to remove people that are bottlenecking processes, bottlenecking the kind of brand that you're trying to develop. I have delayed letting people go before, and it is something that I don't want to do going forward. I don't want to keep people around who will continue to bottleneck processes, to continue to bottleneck when we have things that we need to do in our company. So, sorry, my light is off. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. And if this was helpful, I asked you to share on Facebook, share on Twitter, and just let me know. Give me some feedback. Have you ever heard of the term micromanager before? Have you ever been accused of micromanaging? And if you have, just know that I don't consider it to be a bad term, but I do believe that you need to work on some areas of trust, and you need to work on if that person is really a good fit for your company. And if you are a decision maker, then you need to just take a list, write down the pros and cons of keeping that person. Yes, hiring another person means you have to retrain them, but guess what? You can train them right. So it's either you keep them and train them and build them up to where you need to be, or you let them go and you bring on someone else. So those are my tips for today, my Tuesday tips, and I hope that was helpful. Have a great day. Bye.